Welcome to the Operators Podcast. We're talking Threads. We're talking Amazon. We're talking Prime Day. We're talking a deep end special secret brought to you by Northbeam, brought to you by Fulfill, brought to you by Sendlane, 3 upstanding SaaS brands in this amazing space. I'm here with Jason. I'm here with Mike. Matt's on vacation. What do you expect? I'll see you guys later.
Let's go.
It all started with a rumor, a whisper about a private WhatsApp chat where 9-figure entrepreneurs swapped insights, information, and deals behind closed doors. And now, for the first time ever, these operators are pulling back the curtain on their clandestine world right here on this podcast. You're about to witness something truly remarkable. A glimpse into the minds and businesses of the world's most successful operators. So sit back, relax, and stay glued to your headphones. The chat is about to begin.
We have no Matt this week. We don't need him. He's riding his bike somewhere in the Northwest for hundreds of miles every single week. Who knows what he's doing? But we're going to try to bring some topical news, a couple discussion points, and I'm going to moderate this. I hate moderating, but here I'm doing it. So, Jason, topic 1, you want to talk about Threads.
This whole thing just came out like within 48 hours, everyone is all about Threads, right? Marty put something in chat, and I'm like, oh, no, is there something else that I really need to pay attention to now? Does anyone else feel that? Like, I got Twitter, love it. I got Instagram, I like it. TikTok, I check every once in a while, but I honestly, I got Reels and I'm good, even though I'm just, maybe that's not my generation. LinkedIn, all I have is people trying to sell me something, right? And I go on Facebook just to look at, because we have a great Facebook group with HexClad and we had nothing to do with it. And it's just a really good group. It's like over 12,000 people. But now there's this Threads thing. Guys, I need advice. Do I need to pay attention to this? I went and I got my username because it's easy. And, Mike Beckham is posting, when you do something early, you get your actual name, right? Wasn't that you, Mike? So
it was. And then I found out I'm an idiot and I was wrong. It's just your Instagram username. But at least I got a good username, I guess, on Instagram.
Neither of you guys are actual grandpas, right? Like none of your guys' kids have kids.
No.
My oldest kid's 11. Come on, Sean. This is Oklahoma, not Arkansas.
But Sean, you're the youngest. Your wife's a TikToker. Like, tell me, what do I need to pay attention to this? Because it's just one more thing.
Yeah. And that's why, everybody, we record these on Thursdays and then the episode goes live the following Wednesday. So whatever we're saying could be junk by the time you hear it. But look, I bought $10,000 additional of Meta today. Meta's my single largest holding. And, I'm not in the millions of dollars, but I mean, in the 6 figures. And I thought today was a good day to just add some more to it. Look, you can't bet against Zuckerberg, right? Like everyone has bet against him for 20 years or whatever at this point, since 2006. And he made the only social media platform that made money, which at the time was crazy. You have to remember this was 2006, 2007, 2008. And, we had MySpace. Before that, we had Friendster. We had all these things. He did something that was tried and true, but they all went out of business because they couldn't make money. And he figured out how to make money off of it. And he basically killed Snapchat. I mean, Snapchat was a fast growing TikTok-like thing, right? Like it was it threatened him. He tried to buy him. He couldn't. So he built the feature. And it's the same story with Twitter. Like he's always liked Twitter. He tried to buy them in 2009 or whatever. He couldn't buy them. So he waited him out 12, 13 years later and he built it. The last thing I'll say is actually 2 points. I'm bummed because I've spent a ton of time on Twitter, right? I've built a community. I have friends there. I met a lot of you guys there. And now I have to do the same thing again on a new platform, which always sucks. Then there's the debate of, is Threads even filling a niche? Like we already have LinkedIn, we already have Twitter, like who's going to get on Threads? And really what I think it is Twitter's always has outside cultural impact. If you guys are on Instagram or if you guys are on TikTok, there's a whole genre of content that is just posting tweet screenshots, right? Like it happens to Mike all the time, right? Like Mike had a very viral tweet of his office or whatever. And that gets posted on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook all the time. So Twitter is, because of the rapid and quick nature and the witty people that use it, it's always had an outside social impact. Will those people start making content on a new platform? I will say the app is great. There's no ads, which is awesome, but I hate having to rebuild my social graph because I didn't have an Instagram account. So I'm starting all over at Sean Wallet. So anyway, Mike, I just went on a whole fucking rampage. What are your thoughts on Threads? Are you using it?
So I got on it like just about everybody else yesterday. And 2 or 3 things about this to me are really fascinating. First is that Elon and Zuck are basically legendary operators. These aren't just great entrepreneurs. These are guys that are in their business and have been really at this point for decades. So on a show where we talk about operating, like those guys are at kind of GOAT status. So it's pretty fun actually to see them going head to head, and to find out what's going to happen here. I guess one of the things that dropped is Twitter may sue Meta. They're accusing Meta of scraping and stealing trade secrets. We'll see what happens. Couple numbers. Zuck posted this morning, first 24 hours, they hit 30 million signups. One of the things that Zuckerberg knows better than anybody else is how when you really start to get network effects, how powerful it is. And, obviously they already had the massive, Facebook, Instagram audience, but I mean, good night. 30 million people signing up for something and downloading your app in 24 hours is just, I guess I would say that's got to be unprecedented, right? Like that's never happened before.
Yeah.
And
I think it is, yeah, for sure. It's the fastest to ever do that. The second fastest is ChatGPT. It took them, I think, 44 days to get to the 30 million mark. And, Mark Zuckerberg did it in 4 hours or whatever, but keep going, Mike.
Yeah. So I find that fascinating. I do wonder if Twitter has quite a few people that they've just alienated over the years, and that it ends up being very similar to Twitter, just with different pockets and kind of communities of people, and maybe the more liberal folks that don't like how Twitter is trending under Elon, maybe they gravitate there. I don't know. I'm kind of with you, Sean and Jason. It's exhausting, all of the different social media. I mean, I know I'm going to probably do what most people do, which is like, hey, I create content and then post. I'm not going to sit here and think like, what does my Threads audience really want to hear about right now? And I'm going to type out something just for them. But, and if it's all the same people that I'm engaging with on Twitter, like what's the point? But I also think everybody's taking the same strategy. We don't know, we don't know. And nobody wants to miss out. If Threads is going to become the thing, nobody wants to miss out on going and kind of in the land run. So I think it's super interesting. Like you said about Meta stock, like it was at $90 less than a year ago. It's at $290 now. It's only about 20% off its all-time high, which is amazing. Like when you look across the tech landscape. So I'm super interested to see how it plays out. I don't think Twitter's going anywhere. And like a bunch of the people that watch this show, this is how you initially got connected to the three of us, and Matt, is via Twitter, but I'm really curious like everybody else.
Yeah. I have 3 points. I'm a talker, guys. The first is, it makes me really happy that we have this podcast, because the Twitter audience could totally go away. And like, I don't really care about the clout, but like there's people who I consider my friends who have never been in person, who have met on that platform. So I'm glad that we'll have the podcast in the Slack group so people can, at least find me. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to lose everybody. The second thing is, I'm actually creating content specifically for Threads, right? Like I don't know what the Threads audience is going to be, but if I got 200 followers, they're the exact same people who follow me on Twitter. So I'm at least going to give them something to joke around with. And I started on Twitter 2 years ago, so I'll just start this right now and we'll see how it goes. The third thing is, this is actually probably worth a discussion point. You couldn't sign up for Threads with a Facebook account. So think about that, right? Like, Facebook is their legacy property. It has 1 billion plus users, and they don't want those people signing up for Threads. You have to sign up with an Instagram account. And to the point where I couldn't just make a Threads account. I had to download the Instagram app, make an Instagram account, and then make a Threads account. So I thought that was really interesting that they are, I feel like, moving past the Facebook brand. And here's the actual last point, and then we'll go to the Northbeam Power Minute. Shout out Northbeam. Thanks for the sponsorship. Look, dude, he's been clowned on. People have made fun of him. Like, people have made fun of the projects, but he's been validated, right? Like, there's very few projects he's launched that have been true failures. People talk about the Oculus. Well, what did Apple do? They're making one. It's like, there's no bigger validation of your idea than if Apple decides to get into the space, right? Like, they weren't the first smartphone. They were the first iPhone, right? And so anyway, it just validates the space. The only big failure I could think of is IGTV. If you guys remember that was a YouTube competitor that was a separate app that they ended up just
and the metaverse. The whole metaverse idea just has not. They poured like, I don't know, $30 billion or some kind of insane number at it, and it didn't turn into anything. And somebody made this comment, which I thought was a good one, yet last night, just like, the metaverse, they worked on it for 5 years and spent, however many $1 billion, and they had a few thousand users. They launched this Threads thing and they have 30 million users in 24 hours. And it just goes to show, like, Mark Anderson has said this, that there's no bad ideas, but there is such a thing as being too early. Zuck clearly tried to push too early on this whole metaverse idea. That's not where we're at. That's not what people wanted right now. But the moment that he gave people what they wanted, and also the timing, like, this is a great case study on timing, like Elon doing the insane rate limiting. I don't know if you guys ran into this over the weekend, but Elon doing all this rate limiting craziness, and then Zuck like launching directly on top of that when people are the most kind of frustrated with the erraticness of Twitter was kind of a masterstroke.
Yeah, the theory is that the rate limiting was him trying to shut Zuckerberg out of it, right? They were scraping data or whatever, or trying to build a social graph to like know who to recommend. So like it was actually a defensive move. And then Mike, you brought up something, people being over Twitter. It's the only social media platform that people on both sides of the spectrum, either, liberals and conservatives, have alternatives for. Gab and Parler were made because they thought Twitter was too liberal. And there's Blue Sky and Mastodon because people think Twitter's too conservative. No other platform gets attacked like that, right? No one's being like, you have to go on conservative TikTok or liberal TikTok. Like, people are just using the apps as utilities. So look, Twitter could totally die. It's being held together by shoestrings. And if it does, find me on Threads, guys. I'll talk to you then. Jason, I'll give you the last word on this topic. What's up?
No, listen, I think, unfortunately, we're just gonna have to do it. But I'm just praying that everyone stays on Twitter and that Threads is more like an IGTV, just out of my own personal selfishness, Mike.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jason, we're going to stay with you. I want to hear about the Northbeam Power Minute. You just had a banger June. You have a crazy 4th of July sale. How's Northbeam helping you with all that?
It's been June was a really interesting month. We talked about this on the last pod. There are a lot of people suffering in June. And I think when we get to the deep end, we're going to drop some interesting stuff later on in the pod on just how to think about what are the key metrics. And I know Sean has a big one, and I had just a couple of thoughts around it, but I'm just, we set MER targets. This was the first month. June was the first month where we set a CAC target. Usually we just kind of focus on MER, and they're both sort of similar, but we just felt a little more comfortable dialing in on CAC, right? And so we wound up, June was up 100% over last June, which is crazy. Our CAC was down 20%. And I'm just looking at like all the early decisions we made using Northbeam to get to where we are today, when we were like 30 million and 50 million in sales. And that's, that's sort of where we started using it heavily, and it really helped us. And I'm just thinking back to some early advice that I received from other people, not Northbeam, when our Facebook ROAS was like sub 1, and they're like, you're losing money. You cannot spend this money. And every time I think about this, I'm like, actually, if we had listened to those people, we would have destroyed the business. And I give And Danny and I didn't know that much back in 2020. I think we learned a lot since then. And, you know, without Northbeam and looking at that complete picture of everything, we really would have destroyed our business by listening to the wrong people and not at least having one source of truth in Northbeam. So I say this all the time. I say this to the team at Northbeam, like we wouldn't be where we are today without them. So very grateful for everything they've done for us.
Jason, did you say sales are up 100% year over year for June
Nuts.
and CAC is down 20%?
Yeah.
And does Northbeam guarantee these results for everyone who signs up? Because Northbeam, get that guarantee going. That is fucking crazy. Jason, do you sell crack cocaine? Like, I have no idea. These results, you must be breaking the law. Or I guess you're just using Northbeam, man. Wow. Well, let's I mean, that's just stunning. Speaks for himself. Jason thinks he wouldn't be where he is without Northbeam, and where he is fucking on top of the clouds. So, Mike, let's talk Prime Day.
Yep.
You're the Amazon king, right? I think nobody knows more about Amazon than you. And you think this Prime Day is going to suck, or you're pulling back, or what's the thought process?
Here was what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to bring up how are we approaching Prime Day and just kind of share some thoughts, because we've kind of, over the years, we've approached it a bunch of different ways. And, you know, early on, Prime Day for us was this kind of seminal moment of, hey, we can run a big deal and we can have our second biggest day, third biggest day of the year, and we can really blow it out. And over time, as our business has evolved and grown, we've taken a bunch of different approaches towards Prime Day and tried to attack it a bunch of different ways. But at this point this year, we are doing almost no deals on Prime Day, almost no discounting. The discounting that we're doing is almost exclusively around like phase out, discontinued type items. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why, because I figured this is going to be different than the approach that both of you are going to take. I thought it would be a great thing for us to discuss, like how do you approach these really big kind of sale days? So our thinking has been that, hey, these sales are great, but it's evolved to where like I think they do more harm than good. And the reason is, like, let's say we run a deal on Amazon. Well, first of all, you have no idea how much that deal is going to sell, because you don't know where that deal is going to get ranked, right? If you are doing a 4-hour lightning deal on Prime Day, it might be that thing gravitates to the top of page one and you're just blowing through stuff. Or it could be that for some reason it doesn't hit. There's other really good stuff going that hour and you're on page 2 or page 3 and you sell a third as many units. So first and foremost, you don't have any idea how much you're going to sell. And then you're selling it at usually 0, slightly positive, 0, negative, slightly negative margins. So you're not like making a bunch of money. And then you have all of this carnage that happens afterwards of like, all of a sudden you've blown through some variations. You've got nothing in FBA, and your whole supply chain is kind of out of whack. Right. And if you were wrong, like we've had deals that we were wrong, they would way better than we thought. And we were just out of a SKU for 3 months because we blew through so many during one deal. We had a time where we sold 50,000 units of one SKU in 4 hours. And then it's like, well, okay, that's one of our best sellers, but it's done for a few months. Plus you have all this organizational, like running around trying to set these things up. And it reminded me of an interaction that we had on Twitter. Dave Recook, I think that I'm saying his name right, who's a brilliant guy, runs Bamboo Earth. He and I were riffing on an idea, and he made a point that I thought was really good and ties in with how our strategy's evolved here, which is just that generally volatility is bad for your business, especially if your business is successful. That volatility, good and bad volatility, sales rates being way better or way worse than you expected, costs significantly differing from what you expect, supply chain, whatever, cost per acquisition, whatever metric you look at, when you get really significant volatility, it's almost always bad for your business, which kind of piggybacks on that idea. I said a few episodes of like, hey, COVID was not actually that great for a bunch of companies, because even though it was this huge tailwind, it was a ton of volatility and people didn't capitalize on it. So we kind of view Prime Day that way now internally, like, hey, it's a ton of volatility. And even if you sell a whole bunch of units, you're not actually, money ahead and helping yourself. So we kind of sit Prime Day out. We kind of have our regular prices. Maybe we unload some stuff that we're getting all the way out of. But we're happy to kind of treat it as another day. Whereas I know other people in our group, like this is like the Super Bowl. Not only are they doing Prime Day big on Amazon, but they're running sales on their website and really ramping up their budgets. So I wanted to hear you guys take our take. We're not doing anything big for Prime Day 2023.
That's a pretty hot take. I think part of it comes down to margins. Last year was the first year that we participated in Prime Day because we were all in on Amazon last year and it crushed for us. We're like running 10% off lightning deals. I think Amazon was asking us to do some 20% off deals, and we're like, we don't need to do that. But just based on our pricing and our gross margins, like we just look at it as we're not going to be on sale very often anymore. We run President's Day, Mother's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Prime Day, Labor Day, Prime Day, BFCM, right? That's what we're doing. That's the cycle. And none of that. What's one of the reasons Sean was asking about the numbers before? Like one of the reasons this year's is we're just discounting less. So our sales are more like, hey, here's this cool new bundle, right? Or get this free piece. And that's worked incredibly well for us. But I think of Prime Day as just it's another shot to get the customer that just is looking for a deal. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that customer. There's always a lot of talk about discounting and like in Black Friday, the LTV of that customer is not as good, yada, yada, yada. I disagree if you have a good product. Like I'm looking at today versus yesterday on our site. We ended our 4th of July sale last day. Yesterday was the last day, and it was like an incredible day. And you know what? We're back to our normal day, and our normal day ain't bad. So there are some people like me who's rarely going to look for the deal and just buy what they want. And they're always going to be there if you have a good product. And then there's just, the people that are hunting for deals. And I just, every business is different. Every product is different. Mike, you just, what you do looks a lot different than what Hexclad does. I think maybe Ridge is somewhere in the middle. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, my first thought is the days you named off that you're like, oh, these are the days we discount. It's actually a lot of days. Like, I mean, if you include the days before and the days after, like when you say Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's probably all of December, right? And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but there's some brands out there who are like, oh, we never discount, or we only discount on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, 2 days out of the year. And we've talked to wholesale partners who think we discount too often, and we discount, I think we did the math. It's like, there's like 3 months throughout the year if you add the days up. Like, so there's 90 days throughout the year where you can actually buy our products on a discount. And it's really big for us, our anniversary sale, going into Father's Day. And once a quarter, you need to have what we call funnel clearers, right? So if Prime Day is going to be a funnel clearer for you, great, use it as one, right? You spend all this time building people into your funnel. A lot of people buy full price, but some people won't. And the worst thing you can do is just have someone in your funnel who never gets out. So clear them out once a quarter. The unique thing is, we don't do 4th of July really, right? We're coming off of Father's Day, which is big for us. So the funnel isn't big enough for us to do 4th of July. We give it an extra week. We do Prime Day. We do a sale on our website that matches some of what we're doing on Amazon. Amazon tells us we have to do at least 20% off list price. So Jason, if they're telling you 10, I'd love to talk to your rep and have them yell at my rep because they make us do 20% off. But also in our space, we
both know a guy, so you should talk to your guy, because he works for you. We know a guy called Ken. Talk to him. Maybe I got it wrong, but I think that's right.
Yeah, for lightning deals, they make us do 20% off list, and I bet AOV might play something into that. And there's some more nuance there, but the other thing is the outdoor space is fucked right now. So people are already discounting hard, and they're going to discount really hard on Prime Day. So look, it ends up being 5x the normal day for us, nothing crazy, but I think it's a good funnel clearing event. So I guess I would land somewhere. I mean, I'm probably more on Jason's side with this whole thing, right? It's basically a single purchase a wallet. So win them when they want to buy. Full price or discount, it's not that big of a deal. Any other thoughts on Prime Day, guys? You guys want to move to the Panzerism?
Let's do it. Clean your financial house early. We went from having, virtually no accounting department, like having a bookkeeper out in the valley doing our books, like guessing at what our inventory was. It was crazy. And then the first thing I did was implement NetSuite, because I tried an inventory system that wasn't Fulfill at the time, and it sucked. And then we just like, fuck it, we're going to just do NetSuite. We're going to eat like 40 grand from this other implementation. It just wasn't working for us. And maybe we just didn't know what we were doing, but people need to know that like clean your financial house early, like get it clean early. It's because otherwise it just compounds.
It's a great fucking summary, guys. Have either of you guys passed an audit? Do you guys have audited financials?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I could not get audited financials. We spent probably over $1 million last year on accounting services, right? And a lot of that went to Armanino, our accounting firm, to get our books ready to be audited. And then some of it went to Moss Adams to audit those books. This was for 2021. We could probably pass an audit for 2022, but, why did that cost me so much money? Why did it cost me $1 million? And I still probably couldn't pass that audit. It's because of the way we bought inventory. We did not have an ERP. We were not measuring inventory into our business, through our business, out of our business. It was done via spreadsheets. And I bet a lot of brands listening to this right now are like, yeah, that's how we do it. You place a PO and it kind of shows up and no one's matching it back. Like all of these stupid fucking accounting things that apparently the world really cares about. And I've told some people this. We had a offer to buy Ridge for hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And that's why we spent $1 million auditing it. It was like, okay, fine. We'll go through this process. If someone's going to give us multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, great. We'll go through this, right? Luckily, the market kind of fell apart before the audit was supposed to get done. So that company, that offer, kind of poofed away with that company's valuation. But I couldn't pass an audit because we did not have systems in place, right? So in a different world where the market held strong, I probably would have missed out on hundreds of millions of dollars because I couldn't pass an audit. So that's why we signed with Fulfill at some point in 2021 to get us ready because we knew this audit shit was coming. And now we run all of our inventory purchasing, right? One, it's an order management system. So it helps us reroute to the appropriate, warehouse, right? So order comes into our website and it has a customized wallet attached to it that can only be fulfilled out of one warehouse. Fulfill takes care of that, right? If it's a split order, Fulfill's taking care of all that, saves money and time on, tickets or whatever. But the big thing is we do all of our inventory purchasing for it now, and we have true costs per PO. We track that inventory through our system, and apparently that helps you pass audits. So don't waste $1 million on shitty accounting fees. And if you ever get an offer for hundreds of millions of dollars, don't let an audit be the thing that gets in the way.
And I'm just thinking about what you must have gone through, Sean, because like every day I was waiting for the auditors to call us up and be like, no, can't do it. Like, no go. And like, we actually got that 2020 audit done. So I'm like, I still look back and I'm really grateful to those guys for, knowing that we had our stuff together, but there were some issues and the pain that you just described of not being able to get an audit. Oh my God, that's insane. Like we just, due to our growth and everything else, we've got JP Morgan's our bank and we went to them and Mike, this made me think of you. So for our revolver, they lifted all of the asset tests, right? So we just have, it's just like straight now. It's just like whatever, you got access to it because we've grown to that level. But there's no way we would be here today without having audited financials and still until last year. Until this year, still inventory operationally has been really, really hard for us. Really hard. Just, when you're trying to make demand planning decisions, you got to know what you have, right? And you got to know what you're selling. And like, we've never been able to get that. We've never gotten that right until we implemented Fulfill. And we're finally at the point where we have way fewer hiccups in ops because we know what's happening with our inventory, things to fulfill.
Yeah, and this, like, don't skip our ads, because this is not even an ad. It ends up being just a lesson that we're ending the show on, right? So if you're skipping ad, I mean, look, ad over, but we're talking about audited financials and how it could totally fuck your business up. Because you might get an offer sooner than you think, and it could be for more money than you thought was possible. And this can totally fuck it up, and you cannot go back in time, right? Moss Adams probably would have passed us on that audit if I would have given him more money, because the other thing is, auditors, you pay them, they really want you to pass. So you come back the next year and do it again, right? Like, it's in their incentive to pass you. But it was a $1 million mistake not having something like this sooner. And Jason is totally right. We had a family friend in the Valley doing our fucking books when we were doing $50 million a year, and they just had no insight into our inventory. We never did an inventory count ever for our business. So what that led to is last year they were like, yeah, you are underclaiming COGS. It's like, you actually shipped a fuck ton of inventory, some stuff never showed up or whatever. And then we do the count, we're on fulfill, we know we're supposed to have some stuff, it's not there, we're able to take a big write down. Saves me $2 fucking million in taxes because I finally got my shit right. So anyway, you have to do stuff by the book. It's expensive. As soon as you get to 8 figures, you absolutely need something like this. Do not be like me. Do not blow your chance at $100 million plus. And now let's get
I'll add something.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I'll just add 2 things. One is, it's not sexy. And so people that start businesses tend to just not want to do this crap. Like I didn't. My team had to talk me into it. It's like, I don't want to spend money and time on something that doesn't sell more units, but it is absolutely critical. And the second thing I'd say is, if you get into wholesale channels and you do not have an ERP solution, you will pay the price. Because it works different, right? Like, we ship out POs to Target, Amazon, Walmart, all these guys, and then they do chargebacks, right? They'll be like, oh, we didn't get this. And if you don't have really good documentation and accounting, then you can't fight them and claw back money that really is owed to you. And so there was an entire period of the business where we just, every time that one of those organizations did a chargeback against us, we just ate it. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars happening, annually, monthly. And now we have a system in place, and that allows us to actually track what's going on and to fight it when somebody doesn't pay us what they're supposed to, and to know what the heck is going on with our business. So you just have to do it.
Dude, yeah. We should talk about wholesale shipments in a different episode, but you will get chargebacks. That's actually how they make all their profit, is by giving you chargebacks. And we also just eat all the chargebacks. But there's also an accounting nightmare where you have a PO that's entered into QuickBooks or whatever, and then you have a check that is less than that. So matching that up is a way you can fail an audit. And you need an ERP to do that shit for you. So we use Fulfill, works for us. Let's enter into the deep end, my guys. This is where we're going to end on. I'm swimming through. Just one financial metric that matters the most to your business in a given day, right? Or month or year, or the one thing, and it couldn't even be a financial metric. I'm just going to talk about, mine as a financial metric. I brought this up on stage every time I go on stage. Profit per day. It is inexcusable to be a D2C operator and not know the exact dollars you generated yesterday in profit, right? You should know, and you should have a spreadsheet set up, or use your ERP or something, right? That says every channel that you sell on, the revenue coming in, every marketing channel, that expense, and your COGS per day. All of that should flow into one document. So I can tell you exactly how much profit I did yesterday. My blended cost of running the business is in there. That could be a rough estimate. I know it costs, I'm going to make up a number here so I don't give away too much information, but $1 million a month to run my business. So I can annualize that, $33,000 a day, right? Profit per day. And if you don't have that number, you're going to go out of business, right? That's what people who raise money, that's who people who fuck everything up. Because what else are you optimizing for? Optimizing for revenue is pointless. Optimizing for MER is pointless. Optimize for dollars in the bank account. And that's my biggest piece of advice. That's deep end knowledge for you. Jason, Mike, what are yours?
I love that. No, Sean, I love that. And you've got to have the data to get there. but it's definitely worthy exercise to get to. We have kind of a contribution margin by day that Connor, our head of growth, wanted, and then he's been pulling that together, and it's solid. It works pretty well. Like I said earlier, like personally, I can run our business just looking at our MER, just because I'm so close to the numbers. I know what our sales are, I know what our MER is. But that's incredibly valuable. And what it made me think about when you talked about this topic, Sean, is there's a brand that I'm really close to. I like it a lot. I like their value prop. I won't talk about what they do, but they're new to the US market. They're pretty strong in another country. They just came across, and they had a banger of a May, and they were really happy. And they stayed on the gas in June, and their agency didn't tell them to get off because they were chasing revenue growth. They were chasing targets. And 2 weeks in, they're like, holy shit, we're actually like losing money in June. And it had me thinking, what would Sean do there? Because WWSD, what would Sean do? Because you've got like a business that was doing really well in May, hitting all their targets. I know one thing that you probably say is like, they should have dialed back spend right away after like May, because June is June. And that was a miss. But then, you've got 4th of July coming, and they were thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll do something there. But how much should a small brand like be willing to suffer during certain, is it like never? Is it like you should never not be profitable daily? Or can you stomach it during certain tougher times? Like, I think people would be very interested in knowing the team's thoughts on that.
You should have a plan. I mean, the thing is, it falls apart when you're just playing fast and loose, right? And I'll tell you that the only times Ridge has ever been in danger, right, of like us having to put capital back in the business or something like that, is when we spend aggressively hoping on future revenue, right? Mm-hmm. Because future revenue doesn't exist until it happens, right? So there's a period in time when we were like, we're going to fucking spend and spend and spend, right? And like, I break even at like a 1.4 MER, but it's like, nah, dude, we're going to spend at a 1x MER. Every dollar in revenue we're putting back into marketing, because we have a big November or a big Father's Day coming up, and we're going to create all this demand. And if that demand didn't show up like we thought it was going to be, and it was brutal, that was like, all right, let's pass the fucking hat around. Who's got 50 grand? Who's got 100 grand? Let's refuel this business because we fucked up. So, look, and it's okay if you understand the risks. That's what my legal team always tells me. You can do whatever you want as long as you understand the risks. Like, if you have a playbook and you have a plan and you want to run it, but I think, get way too competitive. We get too tied to top line revenue, like it's our dick size, right? That's everyone in here want to have a dick measuring contest, right? And Ben from True Classic Tees is the first person to tell you, he's like, top line revenue doesn't matter at all. He's a massive top line revenue business, 200 million plus, whatever the fuck it is. And he's like, doesn't matter. He's like, I just do that to try to make more profit. So it's cool. You can totally lose money in a month if you plan on it, right? But plans don't come true all the time. Mike, what are your thoughts?
So for our business, I mean, at different points, I think it's been different metrics. Profit per day, Sean, definitely was a metric for a long time. As our business has become more complex and more diversified, it's contribution margin by channel by month. So when you're doing things like Target, for example, it's more lumpy. Like you don't get paid on point of sale data. You get paid on purchase orders, and they might order a whole bunch of stuff in May to set the shelves in June. So you have to kind of peel yourself off of point of sale data, and you have to look at, okay, when did we get the freaking money? As Jason would say, like, when did we get paid? And that can be more lumpy. So looking at it in month chunks makes more sense. And you want to look at contribution margin. Like, each of these channels on their own merit how are they performing? Because otherwise you can get lulled into like, hey, it all rolls up and it looks pretty good. And you can ignore the fact that, hey, what we're doing in one of our 6 channels doesn't make any sense and it's really sucking, and we need to make some changes there. So that's the way that we look at it. In particular, what I am focused on today is what is the contribution margin for my 2 owned channels, simplemartin.com and our custom website. We do a lot of custom stuff. What is our contribution margin for those 2 channels every month? And I think we had a month where they got to 35% or something like that, which for us was an all-time record. Like we've never been close to that. But those are like your control your own destiny. If those channels are producing a lot of contribution margin, then the business is really healthy.
Nice. I love it. And yeah, your business is complex. It totally makes sense to think about that. Wholesale for me feels like a rounding error. Love our wholesale partners, trying to grow them, but single percentages of revenue still after all this investment. Jason, go back to your point. Is it ever okay to lose money? If it's part of the plan, man, like restaurants lose Monday, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, but they're going to have a banger Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? And it's like, if that's the business, if that's the plan, that's great. Some businesses only make money on product launches. So that's part of their DNA. Supreme on a Wednesday, no revenue. Drops on Thursday, ton of fucking revenue, right? And it's like, if that's your business, that's your plan, that makes sense, right? They can lose money throughout the week, but most people, I just feel are so, and this is, a panzerism, know your numbers, right? Most people are just so disconnected from their profit per day. And it's like, you think I'm doing this for fun? You think I like managing people? It's like, I'm trying to build an empire here, guys. All right, Mick, let's go to you. Tell us why you like Sendlane.
All right. So a few things that I love about Sendlane. First, it's a premium product at affordable prices. That's how we built the Simple Modern brand was, hey, we're going to make something that's as good as anything out there, but we're going to make the pricing affordable. It's definitely true about Sendlane. Run by an operator that's got 14 years of email experience. He ran a D2C company. So he really understands that their team really understands what their customers need and want. They built a product based on their experiences. And I think it's been mentioned on this show before, but like they do a great job of engaging with the community via the social platforms, Twitter, I guess Threads now, whatever. They really are talking to people and asking them what they want. Recently, they rolled out reviews as a free add-on to what they were offering already. And then, Klaviyo really quickly, like a week later or 2 weeks later, rolled it out, but it costs money with Klaviyo. But it's a good example of, I think they're really listening to their customer. I think that when you're buying any software solution, because, even though you can switching costs are real, like you got to train people on a new platform. And it's a hassle always to switch. So I really try and pay attention to what is not just where is the product right now, but what's the trajectory of the product. I'm really impressed with the trajectory of their product. They've gone from not on my radar to being very impressed with what they're building over the last 6 months, just because of the trajectory and the rate of development. And so it's not just like, hey, where's the software that you're committing to? Where's it today? It's where's it going to be 6 months, a year from now? Finally, I've done email. I've invested in email providers. And I would say the number one danger in email is if you get poor deliverability. All this segmenting, all these hacks, tricks and tips, none of that matters if you don't have good deliverability. And if you're trying to pick an email provider, you need somebody who really gets deliverability and knows how to troubleshoot deliverability issues. And they're really strong. Their in-house team that can diagnose and help with deliverability issues is really strong. And they share some of that content even publicly, which is really helpful. So big fan of Sendlane, big fan of people building exceptional products.
What I love is email is a commodity service, right? Like SMS is a commodity service. And what I mean by that is there's actually no proprietary technology. Like I believe everyone uses SendGrid because that's how you send emails, right? And just like everyone uses the carriers and there's carrier fees built into SMS, they're actually commodity services, right? there's an argument if Shopify is or isn't, but it probably is not a commodity service. It's hard to build Shopify, harder to build the infrastructure and Rails they have in the server network or whatever. But in a commodity service, how do you win? Well, price, Mike, you've proven that with water bottles, right? And service, right? I think you've proven that as well at Simple Modern. You could say wallets are commodities too, right? We have to win on prestige and brand or whatever. And just the fact that I've given Klaviyo in my relationship with them probably $1 million. I've probably given that company $1 million, right? I've been with them 10 fucking years or whatever. I do not know anyone who works there, right? Obviously, look, I'm the CEO of the company, right? I'm sure Sydney, my email person, has some sort of relationship with somebody. But if there's an issue, right? Like, I'm just going to tweet at Klaviyo, like, this is fucked up, like I do with Amazon. And let me just say right now, they're not Amazon, right? Like, they're trying to be worth $3 billion, not $1 trillion. So anyway, that's what I respect. Like, bringing, a lower price solution, which is better for everybody. Klaviyo's going to have to lower prices. Every email provider is going to have to lower prices. And also doing it with a face, being like, hey, I'm here to help, right? His whole team's on fucking Twitter here to help. They'll be on Threads. They'll be everywhere to help you. So fuck yeah, Sendlane. Fan. All right. Topic 3, guys. Sorry if this is running long. I'm just having so much fun hanging out with you. I want to talk about COGS. I've asked so many people this, and no one gives me a fucking straight answer. Do you include your shipping cost to the customer in your COGS calculation, right?
No.
Cost of goods sold. Jason's a hard no. Mike,
No.
what are you?
No.
Okay.
I break it up.
Yeah, a lot of people would freak out. And, people are like, of course you include that. It's cost of the sale, right? And I think that's different. So there's a thing, cost of sale, right? Which includes payment processing rates, maybe storage of the item, pick and pack of the item, last mile shipment of the item, right? That plus COGS, so the physical good manufacturing price plus shipping it to the country, add those things together, and then you have your actual gross margin, right? Like that is your cost of doing business, cost of sale, whatever. And that's why if you look at like a Walmart or whatever, right, they have their gross profit number is 55%, or it's probably less for Walmart. I know Yeti's is like 55% because they're including everything that's cost of sale. What is not included in that is SG&A expenses, so marketing expenses, general labor, your accounting office, whatever. But at least in my world, I only include the physical cost of the product because I talk to people and they're like, yeah, I have 80% margins. And if you include last mile shipping and you're still getting 80% margins and everyone's doing that, I'm blown away. It's so fucking hard to get 80% margins when the cost to ship something in America is $6, right? So you guys have any other context there?
No, that's good. No, I like this one because, I've had 2 stints as CFOs, one of a tech company and one at HexCloud. I'm still technically the CFO, but like that's more like 10% of my job. And COGS it's just GAAP accounting, and GAAP will let you do it a few different ways. And from my perspective, a lot about financial statements and their organization are about optics and how it's going to look. And from my perspective, you got 3 important lines, right? You've got the revenue line, you've got your gross profit line, and then you've got your net profit line, or EBITDA. Really, it's kind of pretty close, except for like the below line stuff like interest, and we don't have a lot of depreciation. Just go with whatever number optically makes the most sense and presents the best, because people will go down and look at the bottom. And like you said, Sean, it's more apples to apples when you pull that stuff out, because what UPS or FedEx or On Track or any of those charge, it depends on a lot of factors, on your scale, on your volume, all that. But if you COGS and gross profit really, to me, is about unit economics. It's about, and that's the way you measure whether your business has sustainable unit economics. And then if you start layering in other stuff, it just makes it super noisy. So I don't like it. And that's why I just say no. What is the least amount of shit that I need to include in my COGS? And that's the way I want to do it. It's like people getting into fights about this type of MER or this type of CAC. And it's like, it's not that hard to read down the P&L. Like, learn to read down the P&L. Like, learn to add. Like, I know what, if I just know our MER, I know what our EBITDA is going to be. Like, because I kind of know what our overhead is. I kind of know what our G&A is. And like, I know, like you should know these things. And I just say, optically for me, I want as little as possible up there, up at the top.
Right. That's a panzerism. Keep it simple, stupid. Mike, you want to add to this?
So two things. First of all, one of the things that caught me off guard when I started to get involved in like the D2C community on Twitter was the obsession with gross margin. It's crazy how that's held up as kind of the end all be all. And the reason I say that is like, listen, your gross margin depends on what you're charging for the product, and what you charge for the product impacts your demand. So yeah, like I can sell this water bottle at 90 points of gross margin. I'm not going to sell any, right? Nobody wants it at that freaking price, but like I can do that. And, saying, I think all the kind of, if I had 80 points of margin or 90 points of margin, like, I don't know. I personally think like that shows that your business has some issues. If you need 80 or 90 points of margin in order to make your numbers work, then you're just having to spend crazy amounts of money convincing people to buy your stuff. But I kind of digress. One of the reasons why I break it out, Sean, it's our channel structure. Like, yeah, we sell a bunch of stuff online, but we sell a bunch of stuff in physical retail. So like my COGS needs to be what it takes for me to get a unit here ready to sell. And it can't include all of that fulfillment to the customer because it's exceptionally different with Target and a club partner and our website and Amazon. Like they just look radically different. And so what's actually helpful for me when I'm in meetings where people are saying, okay, Amazon wants to know if we can do this, or Target's asking for this price. If I want to be able to quickly do math in my head, I have to know, here's my COGS apart from fulfillment, and then kind of build out the economics from there.
Mike, that's exactly what Taylor Holiday said. He's like, if you want 90% margins, charge more, right? Like, yes, we could have a 99% margin business if you want to, but you're not going to sell any of it. You have to have demand at those margins. No. And then let's go back to what Jason said, because I think Jason had the simplest answer, right? It's a 3-line system. It's net revenue. So revenue after returns, right? Then it's gross profit. So after all of your cost of sale, right? So your fulfillment cost would be in there, probably any variable cost tied to a sale, right? And then you have net income after all of your fixed expenses, right? You could put marketing down there, whatever. If you look at those 3 lines, that's how you can judge any single business, right? Go ahead, Mike.
So here's the point that I would want to make. Higher margins harm demand. Higher prices always lead to less people converting. That is an irrefutable law of nature. And brands can forget this sometimes. You're going to have to spend more marketing dollars the higher you take prices. The higher you take your margins, the higher you're going to have to spend on marketing. So here's a perfect example. Sean, you follow Yeti. What are Yeti's EBITDA margins? What do you think?
Oh, I mean, their net income's in the single percentages, or, if they're lucky, 12% or whatever. I think the EBITDA is probably 8 points better. So let's call it 20% EBITDA margins.
Yeah. Their EBITDA is in the low 20s. Our EBITDA margins at Simple Modern are at almost identical numbers, low 20s. But our gross margins at Simple Modern are like 31, and Yetis are 55. You mentioned that earlier in the episodes. So they're coming from this really radically different place, right? They're going to charge a lot more money. The difference is they're selling a premium product, so they're turning around and they're dumping whatever 20 or 25% of their revenue back into marketing, and we're taking a different approach, and we're kind of ending at the same place. And so it's not to say one method is better than the other, but you got to be prepared that the higher your margins are, the more you're going to have to market. Bezos famously said it, that your margin is my opportunity. And so I think we've lost this in the D2C community. I've gone on this rant before. I'll go on this rant again. Like, listen, at the beginning, the idea with D2C was we are going to cut out the middleman who is making money, right? All this stuff that you're buying, you're paying too much money because the middleman, Walmart, Target, whatever, their margin. And so we're going to go direct to consumer, and, this is going to be better. But we didn't go direct, right? There's just a different middleman. Zuckerberg's sitting there at the toll booth, laughing as he collects money. And what's shocking is direct to consumer started, the value proposition was supposed to be, hey, this is going to be better. People without a doubt pay premiums to buy things D2C. I mean, you'll see things selling for 3x what you could buy them for at, Target on D2C websites. And it's like, hey, guess what? Your TAM, the number of customers you can reach is really harmed by your pricing. Even if you're making the numbers work, you have a glass ceiling you're not going to get through because you're 3x what the real market is, right? You want to know what the real market is for your product? Go look at the mass retailers, because you're almost never going to get to a real critical mass of people buying your product at 3 times what they can get a really high quality solution in physical retail for.
Dude, and that's what D2C brands are learning when they go into retail, right? Like, Black Rifle Coffee, publicly traded, so their numbers are available. They're talking about how they have to have cheaper prices in Walmart because Walmart makes them, right? If you buy a can of coffee from their website, I think it's $16.99. And they're like, yeah, to get space in Walmart, we're $10.99. And we're still a premium compared to everybody else, right? You're totally right that you pay premiums on D2C. The other thing is, let's talk about middlemen real quick. Walmart's market cap is about $400 billion. Goes up or down a little bit on a given day. Today, Facebook, Meta, $800 billion. So that middleman's about twice as big as the old middleman, right? He's making.
And what's Google? What's Google's market cap at?
1.2 trillion, right? Something crazy.
Yep.
So yeah, those middlemen are making even more money, right? Because they're doing something a little more high margin, just selling you ad space.
But counterpoint on D2C is that the right products at scale, like look at Katie, right? Katie was on, right? She went all D2C, and it works for her. And that's where, originally, right? We all Danny and I talk about Casper mattress all the time because that's what gave him the, that was his jumping off point because Hexclad really was the first D2C cookware brand, although a couple others popped up during the pandemic and made a big splash with their marketing. It's like, if you've got a 5 MER, that's 20%. That's less than the take rate of Target and Walmart and all those guys. It's just not there for every business. It's just not there for every. You got to have the right product,
Sure.
to
do it. It's just not for everyone. But it's there for some. I mean, it's there for Sean. It's there for you.
Right, but I'm not at a 5x MER. I mean, that proves Mike's point, right? I mean, Mike runs his business.
Yeah.
Mike's business is 20x MER. Jason's at a 5, and I've had years I've gone to 2. It's like I make that work through margin, right? Obviously I could lower my prices, but we think that there's value in price integrity for our brand, right? But
here's the thing. I want to make one more point here because I'm passionate about it. The thing that both of you have been successful in doing is that you have created a monopoly because of brand. Like I'm in a commodity market. If I went to a trade show fairly early on with my team, I tell this story a lot. Went to a trade show. Our booth was literally like 3 crappy pieces of furniture we bought at IKEA. Other people are building $100,000 booths, and we've got these stupid literally some people from Thermos that work for Thermos walked by and pointed laughing at us. So we're like kind of the laughing stock of the show. And the theme of this show was drinkware. There's drinkware companies everywhere. There's probably 50 drinkware companies. And after the first day, I rallied our team at the hotel and I just said to them, hey, listen, there's 2 paths. Either we're selling water bottles or we are selling this. And if we are selling this logo, then we have an incredibly bright future. And if we are selling water bottles, we are absolutely screwed. And you all need to understand. Because water bottles are a commodity, but Simple Modern's not. I have a monopoly on Simple Modern, and it's incredibly valuable. And people are willing to pay for brands that they value. And I think both of you guys have developed monopolies because you have powerful brands. Like nobody else sells Ridge wallets except for Ridge. And so that changes the dynamics, right? You set the market, you establish value in what something's worth. So, it's the important point to make when you're talking about margins is that the big equalizer, the thing that throws all this stuff out the window with margins is brand, because with brand, you have a monopoly.
And we'll let it wrap there.